Hello and welcome to the What's New of SPAD.next. This time beta 0.4. Yes, we are out of alpha stage. We had 2 weeks of debugging, testing and programming. Thanks to all my testers in the forum. Really appreciate your work and you helped me a lot. And so we left alpha stage and are now in beta 0.4, which brings a lot of news. First, some housekeeping. We have noticed in testing that there are different panels or versions of the switch panel are around. Namely, the left and the right of the engine rotary switch are turned around. This will in no way influence the functionality. Just use it as usual. It's just a cosmetic issue. As you can see already in the line beyond the devices, there are 2 new devices supported now, the multi-panel and the bip panel, where we'll go through in a second. Thanks to an anonymous gifter that gifted the bip panel, the multi-panel and a flight instrumental panel to me, for me to implement it. And and there was another gift. Let me open the website from Flight Sim Eindhoven. They gifted the radio panel to me. So the radio panel will be the next panel supported after these 2 that are working now. Thanks again. So let's go ahead. Nothing much changed in the switch panel, just a bit in the configuration dialogues. I will show that later. So let's start with the backlit information panel. First of all, as you might know, you have 3 rows, which each has 8 plates on it that you can lit in different colors, and so you can put events. You can adjust the brightness of the panel LEDs underneath the panel or in the settings, so both synchronized. So wherever you change it, it will change on both locations. On the BIP UI panel, you will see basically 4 colors. First one is gray. That means that plate is in off status. Then we have yellow, it's in yellow status. Green, it's in green status. Then there's a red when it's in red status. We'll show that in a second. And we have a new thing that is blinking red. So you can have 4 states now. And you will see some light red. That means that the plate is configured but not enabled. Since by default you will not see which plates are where on your hardware panel, you can click on the screw on the upper left hand to turn all plates to green on your hardware panel and click it again to bring it back to normal operation. Which brings me to a point that has been changed. Thanks for the suggestion. When SPAD.next exits, it will turn dark all panels. So how to configure a plate on the backlit panel? Let's go with with this one here, which shows my battery voltage. As you can see, the configuration dialog changed a bit. While you have on the right hand side the values like before, you have on the left hand side beneath the value, next to the value, a so-called comparator, where you can tell the software how to compare the value you give to the value taken from FSX. Basically, you have 7 states. It's equals, means the value on the right hand side have to exactly equal the value coming from FSX. Then you have less and less or equal. If the right hand side value has to be less or equal to the value coming from FSX. Greater or equal, pretty much straightforward. Your value has to be greater. Then you have a special case that's called mask. You can use that for offsets that are used for combining one or more offsets, like the engine fire. I will show that in a bit. And any bit sets can also be used for bit offsets. We'll show that as well. And you have the ignore, means that the color will not be used and the value you give will be ignored. And then you have the value that has to be matched to turn off the plate, to turn it green, yellow, red, blinking, and red. The comparison is done exactly in the order that you see on the screen here. So first of all, to determine a color, it will be search if any of these five values has the comparator equals and equals the value coming from FSX. Then it will be used and no further checks will be done. After that, all values are checked against their comparator from top to bottom. If it hits the first one matching, it will stop comparison and use that color. And you can give the caption that should be shown on the software UI panel. From the beta test, we had another great suggestion to make it easier to move plates around or even share plate configuration or other configurations with other people by email or even through our forum. That's pretty easy. Just in the configuration area, press the right mouse button, copy event config to clipboard, and we close it and we go to this one that's unused, select offset and say copy paste from clipboard. There we have an exact copy of our plate. I'll configure that now to show you the colors. The voltage is a good thing to start. So it will be off when it equals 0. It will be green if the value is greater than 37.6 volts. It will be yellow if it's greater or equal 23.4. It will be blinking if it's less than 23.1, and will be red if it's greater or equal 23.1. Just doing this figures right narrow now, so we don't have to wait too long. As you might have noticed, if the value type is a float, you can enter a dot, decimal dot. So we save this, and here was it, and enable it, and it immediately turns green because my flight is still unpowered. Let's move it over here. Okay, and you will notice there is a new save button to save changes in the profile, so you don't lose it if the software should crash. So let's see what happens. I have some switches, some stuff configured here. Here we have the engine fire, which uses the any bit set, which means any bit of the value given on the right hand side. In this case it's 15, that means the lower 4 bits. If any of this bit will be set in the value coming from FSX, the plate will turn red. So if any engine is on fire, it will turn red. We'll show that in a bit. Here we have the fuel pump switch wired, so it will become red if it's on. And here we have the autopilot wired, it will become green if it's on, and yellow if it's off. And here we have the panel light. The panel light is, as you might still remember from the previous alpha, is a bit offset in a value. So in this offset, it's the 6-bit set. And if you choose a bit set offset, then you can only choose which light should go on if the bit is set. In this case, the green will go on if the panel lights are on, and for the master battery the same, it will become green when the master battery is on. Oh, let's have it blinking when the master battery is on. Okay, let's save it. For debugging purposes, I added the altitude of the aircraft and the current vertical speed. This means since they are broadcasted to the UI panel, they will be logged to the log file. That's pretty much informative for debugging stuff. Let's turn on some stuff and switch this one to show us the voltage, so we can see it will change here. You cannot see my hardware panel, but believe me, it's working. So let's put on the avionics, we need them later anyway, and some lights to use up some battery. Let's see, why is the master switch not working? Red blinking. Oh, it's on ignore. So we put it on 1 and it starts blinking, and it's blinking on the hardware panel as well. So now you see we moved with our voltage below our yellow trigger, 23.4 we have now, so we should go to red pretty soonish. Now we are, and we go down to 23.1, it will start blinking. Wait a second. Should start blinking yet? No. Okay. So it's rounding the values because the values coming from FSX are very precise, and so it's rounding to 2 digits. So let's spare some battery, or better, so we have 22.9, so we have 10 minutes before battery will be empty. Okay, that's it about the backlit panel. There's an entry in the forums in the FAQ that explains the comparators again. The next new panel is a multi-panel. It supports everything that it should support, and synchronize it of course with the plane. So if we switch it to altitude and turn in the altitude, it will change in the plane. You will note the rotary knob, the tuner knob, will accelerate the faster you turn it. It will accelerate and move by bigger values. Acceleration still needs a bit tweaking. I'm working on it, so bear with me. There's one drawback where you should pay attention. What we noticed is that if the altitude hold is on and you turn the switch, the vertical speed will automatically move to the default value or default max value of the plane you selected. So for the Cessna, it's 700 feet per minute. If you're in a 737 or 747, it will automatically move to 1800. So be aware of that. Together with a pitch trim, this could stall your plane. Pay attention, so especially if you have the vertical speed hold enabled. So I can change the vertical speed, of course. I can change the airspeed. For the vertical speed, there's no acceleration, by the way. Airspeed, I can change the heading. It has acceleration as well. And the course. Arm the auto throttle if supported. Move flaps down and flaps up. And of course, I can trim the pitch. The pitch wheel also has acceleration. You have to play around a bit with it. You can configure that in the settings for the multiplayer. I have it set to 10, default is 50, which might be a bit high. So play around with it. So if the trim wheel is jumping or moving too fast, just lower the value. For the bib, here's the brightness, as I said already. So let's go back to the panels. What did I want to show? I don't remember anymore. So basically that's it. That's beta 0.4. Have fun testing it, play around with it. If you have any problems, find any bugs or stuff like that, head over to our forums. And you will have some general forums where you can post your questions or report some problems. If you find a real bug where you say this is a bug, it has to be changed, please open a ticket. Underneath the forums there's a ticket system where you can file bugs. Or if you have a feature that you want to see implemented, you can open a feature request. And I will look into it and maybe most likely implement it. So come over to the forum, be part of the community, help me to improve the software, to get out of beta stage pretty soon. You will of course not see the beta forum, it's the internal forum for my testers. If you want to join in for testing, just leave me a message and you can join in. But bring some time and nerves, because it might be really hard to test. So that's it for beta 04. Have fun. Next panels to come will be the radio panel, gifted by Flights in Eindhoven, and the flight information panel. Also, I would like to get some feedback from people that have more than one panel, because I have only one of every panel. I don't know what happens if you have two multi-panels, or with the next version who has two radio panels or two backlit information panels. if the software handles them correctly and can distinguish them. It should, but I'm not sure. So that's it. Have fun. Head over to the forums. Leave your feedback. Every feedback is appreciated. And I wish you all a happy Easter. And I will be back on Monday or Tuesday, working on the next beta and reading hopefully all your positive feedback. Thanks for watching and see you next time.